Welcome back to the True Event Archive, my friends. It's really good to see you here again. Whether you've been with me since the very first video or you just found the channel today. Thank you, truly. This is your space, a quiet corner on the internet where we sit together, lights dimmed, and we talk about the real stories, the ones that refuse to stay buried. The ones that still send chills down your spine decades later. If you're new here, welcome home. Grab something warm to drink, get comfortable, and settle in. You're among people who love these mysteries just as much as you do today. We're stepping into one of the darkest, most haunting, and still completely unsolved cases in American history. A story so brutal, so meticulously cruel, and so wrapped in Hollywood glamour and shadow, that it changed the way an entire nation looked at crime forever. This is the story of the Black Dahlia. Take a slow breath with me, because once we begin, the shadows start to close in. It was the winter of 1947. World War II had ended just 2 years earlier, and Los Angeles was glowing with fresh hope. The movie studios were working overtime, pumping out dreams in black and white. Young women from small towns all across America were arriving every single day, suitcases in hand, hearts full of ambition, eyes fixed on the bright lights of Hollywood. One of those dreamers was a 22-year-old woman named Elizabeth Short. She was born on July 29, 1924, in Hyde Park, Boston, a quiet, working-class neighborhood. Her father abandoned the family when she was still a little girl, leaving her mother to raise 5 daughters alone. Money was always tight. Elizabeth, or Beth, as most people called her, suffered from severe asthma as a child. The doctors even recommended she move to a warmer climate for her health. That suggestion would eventually lead her to California, and to her fate. Even as a teenager, Elizabeth stood out. She had porcelain pale skin, striking jet black hair, and a smile that could stop people in their tracks. She was beautiful in that classic, old Hollywood way, elegant, mysterious, unforgettable. But life wasn't easy. She dropped out of high school, worked waitressing jobs, dated soldiers during the war years, always searching for something bigger, something brighter. By 1946, at just 22 years old, she made the journey west. First to Long Beach, then straight into the heart of Los Angeles. She wanted to be an actress. She believed she had the look, the presence, the spark. She took whatever small modeling gigs she could find, worked as an extra when roles came up, and waited tables at diners and drugstores to pay the rent. She lived in cheap rooming houses and shared cramped apartments with other hopeful young women. She dressed almost entirely in black, elegant dresses, sheer stockings, dark lipstick. That signature look would later give the newspapers the perfect, haunting nickname, the Black Dahlia, a dark twist on the 1946 film The Blue Dahlia. But Hollywood could be incredibly cruel to girls like Elizabeth. She was stunning, yes, but the city was flooded with beautiful faces. She bounced between relationships, soldiers on leave, salesmen, nightclub owners, hoping one connection would finally open the right door. Friends who knew her described her as sweet, polite, a little shy, but also restless. Always chasing the next opportunity. She wrote letters home full of excitement. "I'm going to make it big." She talked about auditions, about meeting important people in the industry. But underneath the optimism, she was lonely. She confided in a few close friends about strange phone calls, about feeling watched, about a vague fear she couldn't quite explain. In the final weeks of her life, that fear grew much sharper. She told one friend she had received threats. She spoke of a secret she wasn't ready to share with anyone. Another person remembered her breaking down in tears, terrified, saying she feared for her life. No one pressed her for more details. No one stepped in to help. Then, she vanished. On January 9, 1947, a salesman named Robert "Red" Manley, the last person known to have seen her alive, dropped her off at the Biltmore Hotel in downtown Los Angeles. She told him she was meeting her sister. She never checked in. She was never seen alive again. 6 long, silent days passed. On the morning of January 15, 1947, a young mother named Betty Bersinger was walking with her 3-year-old daughter through Leimert Park, a quiet, mostly undeveloped neighborhood on the west side of Los Angeles. As they passed a vacant lot on South Norton Avenue, Betty noticed something strange lying in the grass, about 30 feet from the sidewalk. At first, she thought it was a broken mannequin. Discarded, pale, lifeless, she took a few steps closer. What she saw next would haunt her for the rest of her life. The body of a young woman lay on the damp grass. Completely naked, her skin was ghostly white. She had been cut cleanly in half at the waist, the top half and bottom half placed about a foot apart, almost deliberately arranged. Her arms were bent upward above her head in an unnatural, posed position. Her face had been slashed from ear to ear in a wide, grotesque smile. The body had been completely drained of blood, washed so thoroughly that it looked almost like polished marble. There was not a single drop of blood on the grass around her. No footprints leading away, no signs of a struggle. Whoever did this had taken their time, and they wanted the world to see their work. Betty ran to the nearest house and called the police. When the first officers arrived, even the most experienced detectives were stunned into silence. This was not a typical murder. This was something colder. Something calculated, something that felt like a performance, a message. The autopsy only deepened the horror. Elizabeth had suffered severe blows to the head. A cerebral hemorrhage was listed as the official cause of death. She had been bound and tortured for many hours. Ligature marks circled her wrists, ankles, and neck. Her organs had been removed and rearranged with surgical precision. Her body had been exsanguinated somewhere else, then meticulously cleaned. The cuts were so clean, so expert, that investigators immediately suspected the killer had medical training, a doctor, a surgeon, or someone with advanced anatomical knowledge. The press arrived like a storm. Within hours, the story exploded across every major newspaper in the country. The Los Angeles Examiner and the Herald Express gave her the name that would live forever, the Black Dahlia. They printed censored crime scene photos. They sent reporters to dig into every detail of her life. They turned a young woman's broken dreams into front-page scandal. The victim blaming was swift and vicious. They called her a party girl. They implied she lived a loose life. They suggested, in not so subtle ways, that she had brought this horror upon herself. The media frenzy was so intense that it actually interfered with the investigation. But the killer was still watching. In the days and weeks after the discovery, the murderer began sending taunting packages and letters to the newspapers and the police. One envelope contained Elizabeth's birth certificate, personal photographs, and some of her belongings, all carefully cleaned with gasoline. Another package included her address book. A note inside read simply, "Here is Dahlia's belongings. Letter to follow." The handwriting was blocky, almost childish. It felt like the killer was laughing at them. The Los Angeles Police Department launched one of the largest investigations in its history. Over 750 people were questioned. More than 150 suspects were seriously pursued. Detectives chased every possible lead: jealous boyfriends, spurned lovers, doctors, gangsters, even transient drifters passing through the city. Los Angeles was gripped by fear. Women stopped walking alone at night. Parents kept the daughters indoors after dark. The entire city felt like it was holding its breath. One name rose above all the others: Dr. George Hodel. Hodel was a brilliant but deeply disturbed gynecologist. He lived in the Soudan House, a striking, eerie mansion designed by Frank Lloyd Wright's son. He hosted wild, decadent parties. He openly admired the Marquis de Sade. He collected dark, surrealist art. In 1949, his own teenage daughter accused him of incest. He was acquitted in a highly controversial trial. Years later, Steve Hodel, George's son and a retired LAPD detective, became convinced that his father was the Black Dahlia killer. He found photographs in his father's private albums that appeared to show Elizabeth Short unconscious or worse. He uncovered old police wiretaps where George allegedly said the chilling words, "Supposin' I did kill the Black Dahlia." They couldn't prove it now. Steve Hodel wrote several books and presented what many researchers still consider the strongest circumstantial case against any suspect. But the police at the time never charged him. Other theories have persisted for decades. Some investigators linked the murder to the Cleveland torso murders of the 1930s, a series of dismembered bodies left in public. Others pointed to nightclub owner Mark Hansen, who had briefly let Elizabeth stay with him. In recent years, especially in 2025 and 2026, amateur researchers using modern AI tools and code-breaking techniques have pointed to Marvin Margolis, a former boyfriend and Navy corpsman with surgical training. They claim connections to Zodiac-style ciphers and even deathbed confessions. The LAPD quietly reviewed these claims in late 2025, but no charges were filed. And still, the case remains open. Elizabeth Short was buried in Oakland, California. Her mother rarely spoke of her publicly afterward. The rest of the family faded into quiet grief. Hollywood moved on, but the city of Los Angeles never truly forgot. The Black Dahlia became more than a murder case. It became a legend. It inspired novels, films, documentaries, and countless sleepless nights for true crime enthusiasts around the world. It changed the way the media covered crime. Sensationalism reached new, dangerous heights. It exposed the ugly truth hiding beneath the glamour of Hollywood. The city that sells dreams can destroy the people who chase them. And the killer, whoever they were, simply walked away into the shadows of history. Nearly 80 years later, the questions still burn. Was it a respected doctor living a double life? Was it a jealous lover who finally snapped? Was it a serial killer who later evolved into the Zodiac? Or was it someone ordinary, someone no one ever suspected? The vacant lot where her body was found is long gone, paved over and built upon. The Biltmore Hotel still stands, its grand halls carrying quiet ghosts. Elizabeth's story continues to whisper through the streets of Los Angeles on foggy nights. Some shadows never lift. So tell me, family, what do you think really happened to Elizabeth Short? Who do you believe the killer was? George Hodel, Marvin Margolis, someone the police completely overlooked? Or do you have an entirely different theory? I read every single comment on these videos, I really do. Your thoughts, your questions, your personal connections to these stories, they mean the world to me. This channel exists because of people like you who care enough to dig deeper. If this story gave you chills, if it made you feel uneasy, if it left you wanting more, please do me a quick favor and hit that like button. It helps the channel grow so much. And if you're not already subscribed, I'd love for you to join the True Event Archive family today. We have so many more mysteries ahead, American cold cases, ancient Greek enigmas, forgotten tragedies from around the world. I don't want you to miss a single one. Drop your theory in the comments right now. Tell me who you think killed the Black Dahlia. Let's talk about it together. Thank you again for spending this time with me. Thank you for caring about the victims. Thank you for being part of this community. Until the next mystery. Stay curious, stay safe. I'll see you very soon.